Let's get into this one, Cave Dwellers.
You might remember her as the teacher who went viral for her rap verse to celebrate school being back after COVID.
Far as this teaching go, I am unreachable. I'm number one in your top 10. Miss Williams, been popping. 2020 new school, you're dropping. No COVID-19, ain't worried about a thing when it come to me, ain't no stopping.
But years
Oh.
after that video was released, the rapping teacher faces serious charges of sexually assaulting a student. Adriana Cobb Williams was arrested for 2 counts of sexual assault by teacher last December. And the former teacher/content creator has been out on bond since, but this week pleaded not guilty to the shocking crime. After the allegations came to light, the fallout was swift.
Oh, she's a pretty lady too. Not that ugly people can't do it, or pretty. Not that just ugly people do it. Pretty people do it too, I guess. I mean, anybody can be pretty or ugly right now.
According to WALB, Williams was placed on
You're pretty.
administrative leave about a week prior to her arrest. Then she resigned from her position within the Dougherty County school system in lieu of termination just 4 days prior to being arrested. Months later in August,
They let her resign. Teachers, cops, all these politicians, they resigned so they could keep their pension or something. Say, I wasn't fired. I walked out on my own recognizance.
August of this year, Williams was indicted by a grand jury. And the grand jury indictment would reveal more into the troubling and disturbing allegations.
What else we
Under
learned?
count 1, Williams is accused of knowingly kissing the student. And under count 2, Williams is accused of knowingly performing oral sex on the same student.
Yo, that's crazy. They started with the kissing. I was like, oh man, can you prove that? They went to oral sex. That's crazy. That's a crazy boom, boom. 0 to 100 real quick.
According to court papers, one of the alleged incidents happened between November 1st and November 30th of last year, and the second alleged incident occurred on December 2nd. Both incidents involved the same student who was a senior at Monroe Comprehensive.
Yo, I was about to say that. It probably was a senior. Maybe it's 18, 19, but it don't matter because they still like a senior, right? I mean, they're still a student. But I'm like, oh, the only thing to make this story, is a double standard. Right or wrong, it's a double standard when there's a man teacher and a woman teacher. And I'm like, this is a pretty woman. If I was 18, 19 in high school, a senior, whatever, 18, just turned 19 or whatever, or just graduated, and like, you know what I mean? You got like the last 2 weeks of school is like you just waiting and you really ain't doing nothing. You don't even bring your book bag to class no more. And you had a teacher like this, she like, I'll give you this, and you like, technically I'm your student, but I don't know, how old were they? Were they 18?
School where Williams was a teacher. And while Williams was known for her wholesome content,
Let's go. We are about to play musical chairs. What do y'all think this game represents already? Scarcity. Why? How? Not enough what? Chairs. What do the chairs represent? Our resources.
she's facing a decades-long sentence behind bars. And here's what else we know about the former teacher.
It's like 2 different ladies. I see this lady here in this picture, and I'm like, she probably did this. And then I'm seeing like the other lady, the glammed up picture. I guess that's the filters and everything. And you're like, damn, why she do that? She couldn't go get her a good man out there. But it don't matter how they look. It's sick people. She's sick, especially if it was a student. That's like if you're in that power position, like it's like a supervisor and dating the agent or an officer and enlisted. Like it's like a don't mix because it's one of you is likely to do something just because the other person told them to. You know what I mean? Because they're like, oh, she was my teacher, so I guess I got to listen to her. Or he is my supervisor, or he is my commanding general. Like,
teacher. According to her LinkedIn, she was a teacher at Monroe Comprehensive School within the Dougherty County school system in Albany, Georgia, from July 2017 up until her resignation last year in December. After she tendered her resignation, the school district released a statement writing, quote, "The Dougherty County Board of Education voted unanimously to accept the resignation of Adriana Williams in lieu of termination, with the understanding that the district will submit the appropriate reports to the Georgia Professional
think he was
Standards
18.
Commission." While there, she was also the cheerleading coach and featured some of her students and cheerleaders in social media videos that racked up hundreds of thousands of views on TikTok. But since she resigned amid the sexual assault allegations, her content has made a turn, now featuring videos of her husband and their young child as she seemingly rebranded as a family vlogger.
when she was married, oh, that poor man got cheated on with a student. Oh, I feel bad for him. I mean, the student got some head. Hopefully, if he wanted it, if he's 18, her life is gonna be over probably like it should in her career. She shouldn't be in that power no more, in that position no more. And y'all let me know, does that change anything? If he's 16, 17, obviously like, oh no, you go to jail, you're a pedophile, he couldn't make that choice on his own. If he's 18, that's a grown man. You could join the military. If he was 18, with just a couple days left of school, then like technically he was a student, or maybe he wasn't even in her class, then maybe I could like, I see why they accepted the resignation and not terminated her because like, you know how it looks. It looks bad, so just leave. I mean, we both mutually agree.
And despite facing serious charges and accusations, the former teacher, now content creator, hasn't slowed down from posting videos. But she might want
You're
to
going
lay
to
low,
ignore it.
as Cobb Williams faces up to 10 years in prison if convicted on each count. Let's bring on criminal defense attorney Kathleen Bogenschutz to break down this case even further. Kathleen, thank you so much for joining me today. You know, Adriana Cobb Williams went viral for her rap video welcoming the kids back to school during the times of COVID. Was it shocking to you to hear that she is charged with sexually assaulting a student?
Think it's shocking to hear any teacher would be charged with it. Shocking, but not surprising, considering the news of recent years. And it's no longer terribly surprising that it's a female teacher. It's just when you go through the videos that she made and how much time she clearly spent with her students, as a former prosecutor, like it's clear that the opportunity was there. It's just the betrayal of a teacher actually taking advantage of that opportunity.
And, you know, the allegations are pretty disturbing, especially given her online persona, her upbeat personality that she portrays on social media. But she's accused of, you know, sexual contact, kissing the student, sexual contact again, performing oral sex on the same student. What are your thoughts on just the nature of the disturbing allegations she faces while still kind of portraying this persona on social media?
So, just a little bit of history. A lot of these laws have changed, even in the past 10 to 15 years. About 10 or 11 years ago, I started in sex crimes, and I'm in Florida, but a lot of states have changed their laws, and Georgia has done so as well, to include 18-year-old students in this. In that it is also a crime to have any kind of sexual contact with an 18-year-old, just as much as it's a crime to have sexual contact with a 17-year-old. And one of the elements of that offense is that you are in a position of authority over that student. And
what I said, the position of authority, it don't matter if he 18 is. They could have worked at FedEx and he was an 18-year-old that just came in there and she was a 30-year-old supervisor. She would have gotten in trouble. Like, it's that power dynamic. A doctor and a nurse probably don't work on the same shift if they're together, because it's that, like, you can't leave from husband and wife to now you my employee, or now you, it's like that, like, is that fear that I might do something or somebody might do something if you say no. Like, oh, I said no, or you said no. Like, oh, damn, he gonna let me get that? Or she gonna let me get Christmas off? Or I don't know. Maybe I should just say yes. Maybe I should just do it. She gonna give me that A, but if I say no and make her mad, maybe she gonna give me that D. Oh, that sounds crazy. You gonna give it a D.
that student attends your high school. So when I say we,
at your high school, so you could the teacher sleep with an 18-year-old and she did not working at that high school? Tricky laws.
Former prosecutors and my old unit, we used to get in teachers that were having consensual relationships with 18-year-olds they were teaching, and there wasn't a way to go after them. So they've kind of tightened up those laws. You could try to go after, it's a familial or custodial relationship, but then if they weren't in the class, if they're just another teacher at the school, they had them in the past, there's no way to go after somebody like this. So you'll see in this indictment that they refer to a, quote, 12th grader, and they never refer to the student's age in it. Some 12th graders, by the nature of how we divide up grades in the US, most 12th graders will turn 18 during that school year. And some, especially considering the pandemic and students being left back and stuff like that, might even turn 19 during their last year of high school.
And, you know, as we continue to live on social media.
Can you imagine that? Like, I graduated at, I just turned 19, I guess, because my birthday is December and you graduated like March or something, like whatever it is. Like, and I was from Jersey and I came to Arizona, and like the school systems, like you turn 5 and you go to first grade, but when I turn 5 in December, it's like half the school year's gone. They ain't gonna put you in class and just say, hey, yeah, all these kids was in class for the last couple months because they 5 and now you 5, you join them, you'd have missed so much. So like they basically like I went through first grade, like you go through that and whatever. But the point is, imagine you 18 or 19 and you sleep with your teacher and then they get in trouble because you're a 12th grader. Not because you're 18, 19, you're just 12th grade. Like they say, like, yo, you still in high school. You don't even have the abilities to think. I don't know about that. That's a little, as a man, like, and it's crazy because I can think of that if I have my daughter and she's in and she 18 and 19 and a senior in college. I mean, a senior in high school, and a teacher fucking with her. I'm like, yo, I might go up top his head. Like, you gonna have to see me. But if it's your son and you're like, damn, you pull her, you told the teacher. It's crazy, but that's tell you, men and women it's just some differences. Like it's the difference between the bird and the fish. It's just different. It's just fucking differences.
For a lot of us, and we see people like Williams who was an influencer, and at first for her in particular, she posted about, her children that she coached and taught. Then it kind of turned into family vlogging in a way. Do you think that there was a problem at all of how close she was to her students, or even that she was oversharing her students on social media?
I think that is
She felt like
something
she was
that
one
the
of them.
school board and she and the parents are all going to have to grapple with in the coming days. I've certainly seen plenty of teachers put their students on social media. And I mean, there's a point to the argument that she's kind of meeting them where they are. I mean, when she first went viral, it was the pretty much the height of the pandemic. It was the summer of 20, going back to school. And, kids have been home since March and they're really interacting with each other only virtually. And I mean, that's a great way to meet students where they are and uh, interact with them, get them excited to come back to school when you maybe haven't had the kind of attendance that you would look for online or virtually. And I'll also tell you that Albany, Georgia is kind of a more rural area too. So to get students into the school and get them back into the school, I mean, that's a fantastic idea, in my opinion. The problem with that is when you blur the line as to who's the teacher and who's the student. And
They're married.
apparently was also the cheerleading coach, which explains her moves, frankly. I mean, she's an excellent dancer, but it also kind of lends itself to a more collegial relationship with students than a teacher who is absolutely in charge. So
She was more friendly with them. Like, parents like, I ain't your little friend. Well, she was the coach, so she was there for little friend. She talked to them. She heard them talk about boys and the bus rides. And coach is like an intimate position. Like your coach know everything. You talk to him, you tell him more than the regular stuff. Like your coach might not tell on you. He might be like, yo, just throw that away or whatever. You find you some weed. A teacher like, man, come here. You're going to the principal. Coach like, come on, you know better than that. If you played any type of sport or anything, the coach is different than a regular teacher.
I'm not an administrator. I don't make policy, but I think this is something they need to grapple with.
Yeah, it's kind of a sticky situation given that it's kind of the new normal in a way, just a little bit. And then just going further into her social media, normally when former teachers face these types of accusations, they stay off social media or wipe it clean altogether. But are you surprised she continues to post on platforms like Instagram and TikTok?
Because she don't
Do
feel
you
like she
think in a
did
way
anything
maybe
wrong,
she's
probably.
just not taking the allegations
She
seriously?
was married. That's crazy.
I don't know. I am assuming her lawyer probably wants her to stop doing that. And were I retained to represent her, granted I can't because I'm not licensed in Georgia, but were I retained to represent her, I would tell her to stop and to take everything down and go extremely low profile. Because like I said, this is a relatively smaller town in Georgia.
Some people feel like that's
We're
a
looking
mission
at
of guilt.
potentially picking jurors out of this town, and we need you to not be the
that's true.
TikTok teacher where every juror knows who you are when they walk in. So I mean, I'm looking over.
Because then they're liable to form opinions about her before they even hit a case.
I have a couple of extra screens over here because that's just the way I've set up my office. And to look at there's a lot of like, I don't know, attention seeking kind of poses and stuff like that, and it's effective. I mean, it would make you want to click on it.
If the high school boys seen this picture right here, this one right here, they said, "Damn, I like that." Ooh, like you don't want the cheerleaders. You want her, the cheerleader coach, because she's not that much older than them. I don't think, or at least the way when she dresses up like this, if she don't look that much older, like she could be in college.
Another thing that has kind of come to the forefront is a lot of
Some pictures.
teachers, particularly a lot of female teachers that engage in this kind of behavior, that sometimes there's a mental health issue that has not been appropriately diagnosed or medicated. You could even go back as far on Google and find out that Deborah LaFave was, diagnosed with bipolar disorder after her whole thing came up. And there's been several other teachers. Bipolar disorder, one of the features is impulsiveness and hypersexuality. I'm not excusing it, but when you see somebody that is this into their job and this into their family, and it almost makes you wonder, like, did something snap? And I'm not saying she shouldn't be punished. I just want to make that part clear. But there's where I'm representing her, I'd probably have her do a full mental health evaluation as well.
And do you see this case going to trial, or do you think prosecutors might give Williams a plea deal?
Well,
Plea deal.
so a lot of these kinds of charges, and I'll give you an example. So I used to be in a very large state attorney's office in Broward County. So we had about 15 sex crimes prosecutors. We were all specialized for sex crimes. That's all we did in that unit. And we would sit around at lunch and say, would you rather be a sex offender or do 5 years in prison? And every single person at the table picked prison. And then 5 years in prison, how about 10 years in prison? Would you rather be a sex offender or do 10 years in prison? And most of the people at the table picked prison. So that's my example.
You got that stigma.
We try these cases quite often over the designation. It's not that we couldn't come to a plea deal with other conditions, but the designation is, in my state, it's for the rest of your life. You can petition to be off of it in 25 years, which is an incredibly long period of time, but you have to be completely compliant with it for 25 years. So that means you have to register perfectly with no slip-ups and not be charged with any other offenses over that period of time. And then you've got residency restrictions, and the fact you have to register either 2 or 4 times a year on your birthday and on the anniversary or the 6 month opposite your birthday. There's a lot of things that you have to do to be a sex offender. So it would not shock me if they went to trial simply over the
my birthday, December 17th. You would have to go December 17th to June 17th, and then that's a lot to remember. Something go wrong, you're like, yeah, fuck this, man. You register the next day, and you're like, you got 24 years straight, but this one time 10 years ago you didn't register on the right day. That's crazy.
Designation if the state is not willing to drop the designation as part of a plea deal.
Now, say in the off chance you do get your Georgia's criminal defense attorney license a little bit, and you are Adriana's attorney, what type of defense are you going to be using for this case?
Well, as an attorney, you have to work with what you're given. There's quite a bit that's out here. I think the first thing I would do is watch every single video that she has and try to talk to her about taking some of these down. And also I wonder if there isn't some kind of mental health component to this for somebody that seems to be this invested.
I'm thinking maybe they'd say maybe it's not that bad. Like maybe it's going to help them. If they stack the jury box full of men, not women, if she bit women, she done. Because they're going to think of their kids, their son. Women are going to think of their son and be like, oh my God, if somebody violated my son, then there's a chance that the men could look at this and be like, oh, my son, out here getting grown-ups. Like, I mean, because he is a grown-up, because it's 18. That's an important part. And it's recent. She said, like, in the last 10 years it changed. She could be like, I didn't know. Well, I guess ignorance of the law is no reason, no excuse, right? But she could say, like, there's a reason, like, it just changed. Like, you could almost plead your case. Like, there's a reason it's just changed and it took so long because it's like, and there's so many gray areas where if you don't go to your school and all this, and it's like, I don't know. This is a tough one. I just don't. She should be punished probably, especially if she was, like, directly over the student. He's 18. To me, I feel like you're 18. I joined the Marine Corps at 18, 19, like 19, something like that. So, like, you gotta. I don't know. You're an adult to me. You're a grown man to me at that point. But on the other hand, I also know my bias that it was an 18-year-old girl. I'm like, she ain't mature enough. Like you 30. Like you tricked her. She was looking for a daddy figure. I don't know.
Invested in
Horrible.
her students and this invested in her school. And then seemingly out of nowhere, now I don't know if there's been other things in the past, but seemingly out of nowhere, this shining star does this thing that she knows to be wrong
Yeah, it's weird.
and is, has
No
completely
other
blown up her life.
history,
And then to
criminal
continue
history.
posting about her family on social media after being indicted is another, like, it I don't know. I'll date myself by saying the Arsenio Hall things that make you go So that's what's kind of itching at the
He said that's very Jesse Smollettish.
back of my brain. I don't know that, but that would be my first move: is to have her evaluated and then go to the prosecutor with those results.
And in your opinion, when these cases come up, I always go to the victim and how the alleged victim is kind of feeling throughout all of this.
It might
What,
not
in your
matter in this
opinion, do
case.
you think that the victim is feeling throughout all of this, seeing that one, they were allegedly taken advantage of by their teacher, and now their teacher kind of is in a
Hey,
way
what's your
acting as
opinion on
if
this one?
nothing serious really
I don't
happened?
think
What
it
are your
mattered,
thoughts
Chet.
on how the student is feeling throughout all of this?
So students that are involved in these cases are often ostracized by their peers. It's while their names are
Like you
not
told.
used, there's protections in the law to protect the identity of sex offender of sex crime victims, but everybody at the school knows who it is. I will bet you anything. Everyone at the school knows what student it was. Everybody knows what teacher it was. Everybody knows what the allegations are. And when there's these kinds of salacious allegations, the rumor mill can like explode. And this is a relative.
Like I told you, I seen George and Miss Harry in the cafeteria all close. I told you Jamal was hanging out with Miss Campbell after school. He wasn't in detention.
I would say this is a relatively small town. So it would not shock me if the student decided to move somewhere else. Now, granted, they're 12th grade, there's college on the horizon, but I have to imagine that the rest of their senior year was incredibly unpleasant.
And say that, for instance, the student was 18.
To say that if they like if it was me and I was there, like first of all, I probably would have did it. Like I cannot imagine a teacher coming up to me that I thought was pretty at 18, 17, 18. I would have put my man. I would have. Nobody would have known. That's crazy. Nobody would have known. At 18, man, I would have. This teacher, right? Man,
Do you think Williams just thought in her
I
head
ain't saying
that
it's right.
I'm not doing anything wrong? What I'm doing
She
is
could
not
have.
illegal. Do you think that she had
I
some
think she
type of,
did.
I guess, answer to what she allegedly was doing?
I don't know. I can't get it.
And it's weird because like I know she like it's almost like justifying it, but understanding the causation is not justifying it. It's just understanding the call. Why did he go murder his whole family? Oh, because he was in credit card debt and lost his job and he just cracked. Well, to me, that's not a reason. Go get another fucking job. Yeah, be homeless together in a tent and some shit, vlog it. But kill nobody. But I understand why they did it. Understanding why somebody snapped or did something is not meaning you're accepting it or
In someone's
justifying.
head that does this. I mean,
See, look,
any
it's weird.
teacher would know this is wrong. It would certainly be immoral, if not illegal.
That's what it is. That's the perfect. That's what I was looking for. It's immoral. Like I would never do this if I was in charge of a bunch of fucking kids in school. Like, why would you? No matter, even if the student was, it was an 18-year-old girl and I'm a teacher, and she like, give it to me. I ain't gonna tell nobody. They're like, I promise. I'm going tomorrow. It still would feel weird. It's like being a prison guard and you supposed to be protecting an inmates and keeping them safe, and it's like, do I like that's a weird moral line to cross. But I don't know if it should be illegal. But I get it being illegal for students in your school, in your class, especially. Especially. If they 18, they go to another school, and I'm like, I wouldn't do it, but I don't know if it should be illegal. There's a difference, especially when you're thinking and you put in your mind of a politician. It's like abortion. Even if you would never get abortion, does that mean the rest of the world, the earth, the rest of the country, the country shouldn't have access to it, even if you would stand outside of them, be like, no, don't go in here, please. Does that mean they shouldn't be able to do it? You gonna take away their free will? I don't know. That's what morally is wrong. Very, very wrong.
If the student was 18, she might have thought it was technically not a crime, but it would technically also get her teaching license revoked. So for somebody, I just, when someone risks this much, I think we're going to find out some things in the coming days, some kind of explanation as to what happened here. That's it.
Probably was something chemically wrong with her or something, because like she is. I mean, this is an 18-year-old boy. It ain't like he was giving her deep conversations and got into her mind and talk about poetry and the future and investing in stocks and the world political. I don't know. Maybe he was, but I don't see it.
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't want to denigrate Ms. Williams before she has a defense out there. But if you're asking me my opinion, I think there may be something else out there that we're unaware of. If you're watching,
why they ain't say nothing about her husband?
And we do cover a lot of these types of cases here at Law and Crime. A teacher who happens to be married, they appear as a favorite teacher, or they're super close with their students, then they're accused of this type of crime. What's your message to parents?
I feel like it could only. Sorry, I keep stopping it, but I feel like it could only be almost those teachers. Not only, but a lot of them are going to be those teachers that's married. Because if they're unmarried and they're seen as popular teacher, or like pretty or cute or handsome, the staff is probably watching them anyway. Like I remember at my school, we had this one teacher. Like they're like, "Oh, look at him!" Like, "Oh, all the girls would love him." I'm sure the staff would looking at him, but he was married. If he wasn't, then he could be hanging out with like sitting there at lunch with the girls, like, oh, they're in his classroom and stuff. It's like, oh, he married, he ain't doing nothing with those kids or whatever. But it's like, if he wasn't, they'd be like, oh, why he ain't married? Which girl with you? Now as an adult, I see that. Then I didn't see that.
And even schools for potential warning signs to look out for.
So adolescents, by their nature, push boundaries. That's what they do. And it's up to the adults around them to make sure those boundaries are firm. In order to prevent these kinds of things, you have to think about what you need in order for this to happen. What you need is privacy, and you need the assurance that no one's going to say anything. So encouraging communication, dialogue with students is number one.
How she get caught?
And number two, and if only to protect everybody, why not just have two adults in the room at all times when we're two adults present for cheerleading practice, a coach and an assistant coach.
But the boy wouldn't have been a cheerleader.
I hate to put it that way. I hate to say this is where we are as a society, but you should be able to trust your kids' teachers. And if you feel like you can't, another adult in the room is probably a good way to protect them.
It's a lot to unpack here, and I'm sure we'll see more information kind of come out in the near future. Kathleen, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and giving your analysis. Before we sign you off, though, is there anything else you'd like to add about this case?
Oh, I mean, I just think it's incredibly sad. Her wedding website is still up. There's a small child involved. She's put her young son on social media too. I would hope that she takes these things down and tries to focus on defending this case and parenting her child.
All right, Kath.
All right, man. That's what you have. This teacher, married, has a small child going. Maybe she's trying to show a different light. Like, this is really me. I made a mistake. I mean, cheating on itself, adultery. A lot of people don't just look past that. But if you married and you cheat, that's called adultery. That's illegal. But most people don't even look at that in America. They just like, oh, well, it happened. They just let it go. That's what we do. But oh man, what is her husband? They didn't really mention that. She didn't even ask her a question really about that husband and was she married doing this or did she recently get married? How old is the chick? I don't know. That's a lot to play into. She looked like a family woman and like the husband stayed. Is she saying she didn't do it? She pleaded not guilty, or is she saying like my husband knew about it and he was a grown? It's weird to come out with a grown man type of stuff. Like the law probably protects. I gotta look up that law later, but it probably protects like kids from being like brought up and saying, hey, how did you feel about it? Because it like don't matter. You're a 12th grader. You don't have no say in this, I guess. But she should just for the fact, maybe a fine or something, or maybe not really prison time. I don't know all that. Like, I guess I don't know. I feel like sexual assault, something lesser that she still couldn't deal with children, maybe, or like be in that power position probably. But if that's the only thing, then hey, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, man. But let me know what y'all think in the the common cave dweller. It's crazy, man.